birth. And we've seen various states introducing measures to even expand more than it was before the access to abortion in their state, the permission by the state to kill babies even until they are born, and in some cases failing to protect them even after they are born, which of course doesn't make any sense at all. And none of it makes any sense. But we are proclaiming the same message we've proclaimed from the beginning of the pro-life movement, that every life is to be protected. As a matter of fact, we have a president that has been saying the same thing. In the State of the Union address, as you may recall, he said the following: "To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking the Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in their mother's womb." And then he says, "Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life, and let us reaffirm a fundamental truth. All children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God." So you see what the president has done, and this is exactly what we teach in the church is to be done, that we save the lives we are able to save at the moment. We have the legislative support. We have the support among the American people to protect babies in the later stages of pregnancy. So if we have that support among the people and among the legislators, then let's do it. Then, of course, at the same time, we're not saying that it's okay to abort the babies in the earlier stages. The president is saying, let's make it clear we cherish and we want to protect every life, because every child is made in the image and likeness of God. But at the same time, we do now what we are able to do now, because we owe it to those that we can protect now. So let's take some comments. Yes, thank you, Michelle. MAGA 2020, you see the hat I have here. We are enthusiastically endorsing and promoting the re-election of the president. Stephanie is asking, what about the kids being separated at the border? You know, it's like people being separated when, you know, mom or dad commits a crime and gets hauled off to jail. Well, you're going to be separated from your children then, too. We're not in the business of separating children. We're in the business of protecting our nation and enforcing and respecting its laws. You know, even in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, when it talks about immigrants, it talks about the need that they have to respect the laws of the country that they want to enter, and that's what's going on here. You know, don't fall into the rhetoric of the liberals and the Democrats who are talking about things like you know, trying to paint a picture of the president as evil and just taking situations that are happening and trying to make them look like, you know, we are monsters. It's important to look very carefully at what is happening, why is it happening, what is it that we're trying to accomplish. And you know, we don't have to bend over to accommodate people who are lawbreakers. We don't believe in letting people be lawbreakers. And people want to enter the country, they can enter the country. It just has to be done legally. And that is, in fact, something very consistent with the gospel and, of course, with the principles on which America is based. What about if the women are at risk? Stephanie is asking. We take care of both the mother and the child. If a woman is at risk because of problems in her pregnancy, there are many ways to deal with those problems in that pregnancy. Maternal fetal medicine is the area of medicine that specializes in complicated pregnancies. We work a lot with maternal fetal medicine specialists, and they all tell us the same thing, that sometimes it's necessary to deliver the baby early, but it's never necessary to kill the baby. And I ask you to just keep that distinction in mind. In fact, later this afternoon, I'll be interviewing one of our medical advisors, Dr. Tony Levatino, who used to be an abortionist himself. But then when he stopped committing abortions and he turned towards helping the mom and the baby, seeing them as two patients, two patients, and that's very important perspective, that you're not dealing with mother against child. You're dealing with two patients, mother and child, so you do your best to help them both. And when a mother's health is at risk because of her pregnancy, it is always possible to help them both. You can do things you have to do things that will assist them both, and sometimes in helping one, there will be side effects that will hurt the other, and that's not something that is the same as going in and directly killing the child, which is what abortion is. Okay, Heather, let's see, what is your question? Planned Parenthood and the Democratic Party have been very strategic with abortion legislation and public education. How can local and regional pro-life groups best unite resources to be effective in getting the pro-life message out to the general public? This is one of the things that, fortunately, is being done more and more. Groups coming together at the local level to get the pro-life message out. Even in public education, a number of our colleagues are going to the public schools and saying, look, this is a public issue. This is a science issue. Let us get the message out to these students. We'll be happy to come and present it. And in some cases, we're finding success even getting into the public schools. But pro-life groups coming together to educate the general public happens in a number of ways. Having public demonstrations, peaceful and prayerful rallies and marches is a good way to awaken the local community. Handing out literature right there on the streets and the sidewalks. Getting paid advertising. Groups can come together and take out paid advertising either online or in the local papers, on TV and radio stations, getting together in the churches, activating the pastors to have public prayer services. All of these kinds of things are helpful and essential. And one of the things I would recommend is the app. Go to the App Store and look for the app called See, S-E-E, Baby, See Baby Pregnancy Guide. That is a great way to raise awareness. You'll see what I mean. You'll see footage that is unbelievable, video footage of the unborn child like you've never seen before. That's a great tool, referencing what you're saying, because Planned Parenthood is trying to get into the educational, and they do get into the educational bloodstream of the public schools, and yet See Baby Pregnancy Guide, completely scientific, doesn't even talk about abortion, but it talks about the development of the baby. And once you see those videos, you're never going to fall for the myth that it's just a clump of cells. But yet that's what Planned Parenthood continues to try to say. Okay, people are watching from China and from the Philippines. Thank you all for sending in your comments. One of you is asking, all life is God's, why aren't you fighting capital punishment? Well, I actually do oppose capital punishment, but we're never going to teach society not to kill the guilty if it hasn't even learned not to kill the innocent. I mean, every life is sacred, but there's a big difference between the state trying to protect life by killing the guilty. Now, I don't believe that they have to do that anymore, because you have other ways of protecting society from the criminal wrongdoer. Sometimes people deserve life in prison. But if you're going to teach society not to kill the guilty, don't you think you first have to teach them not to kill the innocent? And that, of course, is the problem of abortion. One of you, Anne, you're asking, why doesn't the Catholic Church speak out? You're from Scotland. Welcome to our broadcast. I've been to Scotland. Cardinal Winning, years ago, he's now passed on, but he invited me there. He was a friend of Cardinal John O'Connor in New York, and I was very happy to accept his invitation and come and speak to the priests there. And what we find with the priests, if you get my book, Proclaiming the Message of Life, you will see that I identify there many different reasons, dozens of reasons that clergy give why they're afraid to speak out about things like abortion. What we have to do is rally around them, rally behind them, encourage them. They're human beings like the rest of us, and we have to indeed give them encouragement. And a lot of the reason is that they simply lack confidence in proclaiming this message. They think people are going to turn away from them. They're not going to turn away if they proclaim this message. They're going to say, thank you, I am with you. And we just have to show the priests that. One of the ways, too, that we can help them is to let them see the testimonies of those who are silent no more. SilentNoMore.com or AbortionTestimonies.com. When priests see and hear the words of those that have had abortions and see how it has hurt them, that will resonate with a lot of priests because they are trained to be shepherds. They want to care for and heal their flock. And a lot of times they feel like if they speak about this, they're going to be hurting people instead. But that's not the case. If they speak with clarity, with compassion, when they talk about the healing, they're going to help the people. And the people are going to be grateful. So get my book, Proclaiming the Message of Life. You can get it at proclaimingthemessageoflife.com, and you'll see more in detail what I'm saying. Now, Stephanie asks an interesting question. What about the separation of church and state? Well, the church doesn't deliver the mail. The church doesn't have a standing army. The state does not decide what readings we're going to hear at Sunday Mass or assign the pastor of your parish. Of course, there's a legitimate separation of church and state. But if you read what our founding fathers established when they created this nation, they said this experiment in self-governance will not succeed if people forget about God and about morality. Now, they didn't want to establish a state religion. Okay, that's a key aspect of the separation of church and state, is that we would never want to have a law that says you have to be Catholic, you have to be Presbyterian, you have to believe in, in transubstantiation. That separation of church and state means there's no such thing as a state religion. But that's not the separation of God and state. Our founding fathers not only believed in God, but mentioned him several times in our founding documents. So you can't, if a state forgets about God, then on what basis can the people govern themselves? You can't govern yourselves if you can't see the difference between right and wrong. Let me go to Malrus here. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Mr. President, for speaking up for the innocent unborn babies. Yes, we do thank the President for that. I have 3 children. The doctor said I have no choice to abort, but I never believed in murdering anyone. And I'm very proud to say my babies are very healthy and happy. Do not listen to doctors who say you have to abort. And we are willing and able and ready to refer you to pro-life maternal fetal medicine specialists. We know them all across the country, and as I was saying before, they make it very clear it is never necessary to kill the baby to help the mother's life or health. Never. It may be necessary to deliver the pregnancy early, and if maybe they're being careless with their language, which they shouldn't be, and when they say abort, they mean simply end the pregnancy early, make sure you clarify with them what you're talking about and remind them, doctor, you've got 2 patients, mother and child, and you have to help them both. You can't deliberately kill either one of them. Again, let us know if we can help you with regard to this. Amy, you're telling me you're reading all of my books. They are fabulous. Well, so are you. Fabulous. Thank you for mentioning that. My book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day, is the prayer devotional that has a little reflection for each day of the year. Then we've got my book, Abolishing Abortion. You can get at abolishingabortion.com. Proclaiming the Message of Life, which I mentioned a moment ago. It has commentary on the readings for all the Sundays of the year, and helping the preacher to preach on those readings, dealing with the abortion issue, helping the rest of us to follow what those readings say about the issue. And then my very first book was Ending Abortion, Not Just Fighting It, and that's a compilation of essays on abortion and the pro-life movement. Now, we have a store online. It's called prolifeproducts.org. prolifeproducts.org. You can see not only my books, but the books of our executive director, Janet Morana, dealing especially with the impact abortion has on the moms and the dads and the whole family. You'll see the books by Alveda King, who works with us full time, and other pastoral associates, Kevin Burke, and so forth. A lot of good books that we're providing for you. Thank you for taking the time to read them. And thank you for also taking the time to pass them along to others, because Laura is saying to us, my parish priest accepted your book, Proclaiming the Message of Life, from me openly. So Laura, would you please tell him I said a big thank you and that I'm holding him up in prayer for his ministry, and I ask him for prayers for mine as well. Now, some of you are asking about President Trump. Some people have this idea that the president is evil. He is not evil. He is a person who is seeking to make America great again because he believes in the principles of America, just as I do, and so just as tens of millions of people do across this country. We have to look very openly and fairly at what the actual positions are of people in the political realm that we disagree with. There are many people in the political realm that I disagree with, but I won't go criticizing them until I make sure I am hearing right from the horse's mouth, right from the original sources, right from these people themselves, what their position actually is. And you realize when you actually let them speak for themselves and look at what their position is, it's very often less radical or disagreeable than you might think at first. And yes, Colvass, I agree, America was already great. It was great at its very inception, that the founders made it great. The founders made it great because they founded it not on a geography, not on an ethnicity, but on an idea. People talk about becoming Americans in a way that they do not talk about becoming members of other countries. You become an American because you believe in certain ideas and principles. You come here because you want to experience that freedom that our founders articulated so well in our founding documents. So of course America was great. America is great by definition. What the president is saying is, let's not fall behind on, let's not forget about those principles, and let's not be ashamed of ourselves, as some of our leaders in the past have been. Can a practicing Catholic be pro-choice? What do you think about Catholic pro-choice lawmakers? Thank you, Wonder Tink, for that question. No, you cannot be a practicing Catholic and be pro-choice when the choice is killing a baby, any more than you can be a practicing Catholic and be pro-choice if the choice is stealing your neighbor's car, robbing the bank, stabbing or shooting someone in the street, flying an airplane into the World Trade Center. You can't be a practicing Catholic and believe in the things that the church teaches are wrong and that basic human morality teaches are wrong. Those lawmakers who claim them to be Catholic, but they are working for the killing of babies by abortion, what do I think of them? Not only are they contradicting their Catholic faith, they're contradicting the Christian gospel, so that all Christians should be upset by that, but they're also more fundamentally contradicting those principles that make America great, like we were just talking about, those principles that our founding fathers embedded into our founding documents, that it's a self-evident truth. Self-evident that we have the right to life and that we're all equal. Self-evident means you don't have to reason to it. You don't have to scratch your head and figure it out and write a 50-page thesis to say that it's true. Self-evident means that as soon as you say it, its truth is obvious. So I say to those Catholic lawmakers that are for abortion, you have forgotten self-evident truths and you're contradicting the very meaning of public service. The very meaning of public service. You shouldn't be a public servant if you can't tell the difference between serving the public and killing the public. So Doug, you're very correct. Yes, Nancy Pelosi is exactly an example of this, of what I'm talking about. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, she is exactly an example of what I'm talking about with this. Now, we reach out to these people. We don't hate these people. We're not against these people. We reach out to them, and we try to reason with them. The problem is so many of them don't want to reason with us. And by the way, some of you are asking about the Catholic Church and Catholic teaching and whatnot. You know, obviously I'm a Catholic priest, but that's not actually what brings me before you today with these broadcasts, or what brings me before you in the work that we do each day. What brings me before you in this broadcast is that babies are being killed. So if you have a problem with Catholicism, you know what? Just do a little mental trick and block this out and make sure that make believe I'm not a priest. Just listen to the words I'm saying to you as a human being. Babies are being killed. Does that register? Because if it registers and if it concerns you, don't get distracted by anything else. Join hands with us and help us stop the killing of babies. Michelle says Governor Cuomo needs to be excommunicated. He's certainly out of line with what everything that the church teaches, that's for sure. And so whether he will be excommunicated or not, of course, that's the decision of bishops. It's not up to us to decide that. The bishops have to decide that. But you know what you and I can do? You and I can make it clear what I was just saying, that not only is he contradicting the Catholic teaching, he's contradicting the very meaning of public service. You see, what he tries to say is, oh, well, I'm not here to represent a religion. I'm here to represent all the people. Well, we agree with that. We don't want you to represent a religion. We've got priests and bishops doing that already. We need you to represent all the people. But you're not representing all the people if you're killing some of the people. How are you representing all the people, Governor Cuomo, and by extension all of the pro-abortion legislators? How can you claim to be representing all the people when you're not even recognizing some of the people as people to begin with? Saying that the unborn are not people, saying that they're not deserving of the protections of the Constitution. You please explain to me how that is representing all the people. It doesn't make any sense. So, Ms. Lee, thank you for your comment. Father Frank, thank you for being a strong voice in the church by calling out lawmakers for murdering babies. Yes, we all need to do that. And we need to do that not only in what we say, but in how we vote. I remember Cardinal Francis Arinze saying to us he was speaking at a conference, and one of the participants during the question and answer session asked him the very same question. Shouldn't these pro-abortion politicians be excommunicated? And he said, well, in America, you have a way of doing that, and it is called elections. Very important. When they're not carrying out the duties of public service, which start with protection of the citizens' lives, then they shouldn't be in public office. Teresa says, what are your views on the growing number of Muslims elected to our Congress? It seems that they are part of the Democrat Party and therefore not pro-life. Yes, that ends up being the case in practice. I have no objection to Muslims being elected to Congress, because remember, we have no religious test for public office. So if people are qualified for public office, that's what counts. If they're qualified for public office, and if the voters elect them, that's legitimate. Certainly, we don't want to impose a religious test and say that you have to be Christian, or you can't be Muslim, or you can't be Jewish. No, we want people of all religions in America, and we want people of all religions in American political life. What we do not want is public servants who cannot tell the difference between serving the public and killing the public. That's what we don't want. It's not even a matter of just, being against the Democrats. I mean, I would wish that the Democrat Party would become pro-life. Why? What is it about being a Democrat that has to make you line up with the abortion industry? That doesn't make any sense. Colvas is saying here in Canada they won't change the laws. What they are doing in New York, we already have it. It's been there for a very long time. Yes, that's right, of course. We know that, and I have been there at the March for Life Canada that takes place every May in Ottawa, and we'll be there again this year, and our Silent No More campaign is well represented there in Canada, and we work together with a number of the Canadian pro-life groups. So we salute you, we encourage you, we are with you in this battle, and we're sadly aware that there is no law in Canada whatsoever regarding abortion. It's open season on the unborn. We know that you're facing the very same kind of problem, and we want to really assist you in whatever way we can. As Michelle says, they do vote on February 25th. She's talking about the United States Senate, scheduled to vote on this bill to protect babies born alive after an abortion. The Democrats in the Senate don't even want to vote on that, much less protect the babies. But we've got to force the issue, and we've got to inform the American public about the seriousness of this issue. We're talking about babies born alive here. So contact your U.S. senators and talk to them about this. Doug asks, do you foresee a civil war in our future? There seem to be two distinct sides. Well, let me say this. I hope it would not result in something like that. But it indeed is a division, a very sharp division of two sides. And let's be clear about this. The matter on which we are divided when it comes to the right to life and abortion is, in fact, a matter as substantial as any issue over which wars are fought. It is a matter of that much importance, that wars have been fought over these fundamental principles. The protection of life, you can't get any more fundamental than that. Well, brothers and sisters, we're coming up on the half-hour mark here, and I love chatting with you, but I do have to get to a number of meetings here at our office with our staff this morning. So I want to say thank you to all of you who are commenting and watching. Watch our videos each day. We try to come on at 9 in the morning and 9 at night, and we have got a lot to say to you, a lot to share with you, and a lot to do together to restore protection to the weakest, the smallest, the most vulnerable human beings, and that is the children in their mother's womb. So let's bring an end to abortion, and we pray now God's blessing on you as you continue to work and fight to end abortion, and may the Lord send you his blessing and strengthen you and give you his protection. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. We'll talk to you soon.
But you know what? When you and I take up this call and we talk about abortion, if we speak about it in church, we're told we're too political. If we speak about it in the political arena, we're told we're too religious. If we speak about it in the world of the media, it's too disturbing. In the world of business, it's too distracting. In the world of education, it's too controversial. In the streets, it's too disruptive. So abortion, if abortion is wrong, where do we go to say so? We go into the churches, we go into politics, into the media, into business, into education, and into the streets. Some churches haven't wanted to get involved in political hassles with the government, so they've been silent on abortion. They didn't want to get involved in hassles from the government. They didn't want to take the fight to the government. So now with the HHS mandate, the government took the fight to them. And when it comes to that mandate, we've got a simple message. We will obey God rather than men.